This is the Inknote X from Bigme, and it's Bigme's answer to the Note Air 3C and the Tab Ultra C Pro, which are from Boox. And as usual, Bigme are undercutting their rival Boox in price. And I think you're losing a little bit of build quality there, but often with Bigme, you're gaining some features as well. Now saying that, no e-ink tablet is cheap. To put it in context, I've been testing out this Lenovo P12, which is a matte screened LCD tablet. You save money compared to the e-ink screen, and it doesn't have a Wacom pen like the Bigme does. But the Boox Tab Ultra C Pro is around £100 more. You do get, I think, a slightly more premium build quality with Boox. It's an aluminium shell rather than the plastic shell of the Bigme. And you get the option of the keyboard case as well there. But the Bigme Inknote X is not unattractive. And finally, they've started to develop their own kind of design language. And it does show similar performance benchmarks to the Boox Tab Ultra C Pro, which is good performance compared to a lot of e-ink tablets, but not compared to many Android tablets or inexpensive phones. It outperforms, however, the Boox Note Air 3C. This might represent the sweet spot for some of you if you know you want the e-ink note-taking experience with a comfortable level of performance for your productivity apps. You also gain a front camera and a Bluetooth-enabled pen. So it uses the Wacom EMR technology to write on the screen, but then it has buttons which can change to an eraser or exit apps or page turns in the reading app. On paper, that should give you a little bit more flexibility in professional tasks. And I've used the Bigme Inknote X for a full 2 weeks at work as my daily planner, and I have got along really well with it, and it's done the job really well. Now, e-ink tablets have always been about the note takers. If you're somebody who is actually happy managing their task lists or their planner on their phone, in maybe the Google Suite or the Microsoft Suite or Apple apps, then I don't think you need an e-ink tablet. But if you use those platforms and you still find yourself using a paper planner or a notebook, then listen up, because e-ink tablets are for you. The Remarkable paper tablet has been sold very successfully to knowledge workers, to students and to professionals as a replacement for paper. But the problem with the Remarkable is that it doesn't integrate well with cloud platforms that we use to manage and share our work. All Android e-ink tablets like the Boox and like the Bigme, they bridge that gap. And so if you know you want color e-ink, if you know you want a good writing experience, but you also want the flexibility for it to fit into your workflow and not have to adapt your workflow to it, then these are the devices that you should be looking at most closely. Reviewing this device is not my first experience of Bigme, and I have been quite vocal about the company being, to put it politely, on a trajectory with their user interface design. But hang on, stick around in this video, because I'm going to share with you two big reasons why I might actually be recommending Bigme ahead of Boox in the future. And in this review, you'll find lots of reasons why I have really enjoyed this. And honestly, if this was the only e-ink device that I had to live with for the foreseeable future, I'd be better than happy. I'd be delighted with it. Firstly, let's talk about the pen and screen feel, such an important thing for paper tablets. It's a really good feel. It's better than the previous Bigme devices. It's not as rough and grippy as many paper feeling screen protectors are though. You listen to that. It does have enough of a texture such that you get enough resistance when you're writing to write neatly, but then it also manages to achieve a really nice clarity in the image and that e-ink screen. All these things are trade-offs, and if you want to go with a really high friction, rough writing experience, expect not to get the crispness that you should get out of 300 DPI black and white screen. So it's good, a tick for that. Sure, it's not Supernote Feel Right 2 level or Sony DPT-1, but it's firmly in the level 2 with all of the other paper feeling screens and nibs. And now this is a really well-balanced device. Because of that performance, it is really nippy to get around. You see, opening apps is really quite quick. It feels very very responsive. You've got 6 gigabytes of RAM to handle all that change, and you've got a fast enough processor to deal with those things quickly. And because of that, it manages to give you a really impressive clarity of the screen. You can see it clearing up the white space really nicely there without having to do full refreshes. And that's something that previously only Boox could do with their Boox Super Refresh technology. You can see it's fast enough and it's clear enough. And because it's a Bigme device, you've got a whole host of different options to go through and change the ink settings to your liking. But actually most of the time, it's fine just leaving it on the default settings, and it works really quite well. I did a whole side-by-side with colour graphic novels with the Boox devices, and it performed even better in some cases. I wasn't expecting that. And then there's the secret it's got up its sleeve, which is the global handwriting mode, which has several different modes which allow you to use apps in a way that you can't previously do that on most e-ink tablets. Firstly, you've got handwriting mode that allows you to write into apps like OneNote. Essentially, it makes a layer across the top of the screen, and then you can write with the Bigme note-taking appy, and then it'll print that into OneNote. So you don't get that horrible laggy feeling that you do with e-ink devices on many apps. Then there's reading mode, and this is quite clever because it actually allows you just to write anywhere on the thing and it will store it as a page in a new PDF. So if you're someone who's looking for a way to actually annotate on top of Kindle books, for example, then you can do this and you create your own notebook of sort of annotated screenshots. There's also picture mode, which essentially allows you to write on anything and then save that as an individual screenshot. So let's go into reading mode and into Kindle, and I click new, it will make a new book, and I get this contextual menu at the side here. And you could also use that to allow you to at least do some drawing in third-party apps if you liked, or OneNote, or any other note-taking app for that instance. Just remember that the pen you see as you write won't look exactly like it will look once it kind of prints into that app. So this was frustrating. I had some books on the tablet, but when I went looking for them, I couldn't find them. So I went ahead and tried to download some other PDFs, and well, here's what happened. You see some things like this where rather than okay, you get determined. I think this just shows where Bigme are still on that trajectory with improving their software, because you shouldn't have bugs like this. It did have lots of reading on here, but it's obviously just gone missing from the library. I guess because I updated it. The reading app is fine, it's okay, but it does lack that full set of features. It's a good set of features here, but you'll find a lot more in, for instance, the Boox e-reading app. But the biggest letdown of this is the focus. You lose focus quite regularly in Bigme whilst you're getting used to it. You can see I'm having this frustration now whilst I'm trying to get back to it displaying vertically, and I can't seem to figure out where it is. Rotating screen. There we are. It's just not always intuitive. You need to commit to learning your way around this. And just like in those early days of the Boox platform, Bigme are putting out updates quite quickly and regularly, responding to comments that we make in reviews and comments that their customers give to them by the feedback in the device. But it's stuff like trying to download a PDF, and then it's there in the downloads, and I click it and it says I can't open it in their app. Luckily, it's an Android tablet, so we can choose any app that we want, and I can still read it in the Google Drive app. But now I don't have the option to annotate on top of it like I want to, and I don't have all of the X Reader, that's their name of their reading apps, all of the options that they have. And because of that, because of the times that you find yourself having to learn the way to do it on the device, it takes away your focus quite regularly. One thing I think that Bigme and Boox could think of doing is having a kind of focus switcher, having a focus mode up here, which maybe just strips it back to notes and library. It makes things very, very simple. Maybe reduces the number of menu items that you have when you're inside a notebook, for instance. Something to allow you to really quickly switch between a highly intentional and focused software experience based around your flowing thoughts and expressing them. And then you can choose to get back to the full Android experience with all its notifications and menus and icons. But I guess the barrier though is the sheer amount of research and development time that would actually take for a relatively small company like Bigme. And when we see the software failings of the big companies like Lenovo and Amazon when they foray into e-ink tablets, it's clear that all this is quite wishful thinking at this point for a company like Bigme. But it is all about that flow with the ink tablets, and you should pick one which helps you get into and to stay in the flow. Now, I'm a confident user of tech, and that means that I have really enjoyed using the Bigme, and I have found my way around those issues and I have worked them out, and then I've been able to use it and stay in the flow on this device. So if you're like me and you are a confident user of tech, then you'll have no problem in using this thing in that way. But I really think Bigme are going a little bit too much in the other direction, and they call this operating system the AI Note operating system. And whilst it has some good features and it's a good idea, this note-taking app, this meeting app where I can record and it will automatically transcribe what I'm saying, and at the same time I can make notes about what I'm talking about, I can draw diagrams. I just think they're taking the device in the wrong direction for many of you. So I didn't talk about that at all, did I? Technology in this space seems to be at a little bit of a fork, with many companies just going down this kind of buzzword of AI there. But really, a lot of other companies are going down this more humane direction, and there's the direction of focus. So Bigme need to consider where they're at in that fork. And the people that are using AI, they're not going to want the trade-offs of e-ink. It's the people who want to work in a focused way that are happy with those trade-offs. And in fact, love using e-ink because of those trade-offs, because of that slow productivity, because of that focus. But this device, the Inknote X, is Bigme coming of age. And if you've listened to everything that I've said above, and the use case that this tablet has to offer is something that fits for you, then this is something that I can recommend. It's got a great deal to love, not least the wonderful color e-ink screen and the Wacom EMR pen. It's a recipe for success, frankly. But wait, because there's more. Because that's what I sort of usually say about Bigme devices, that it's good hardware and that the software is developing. But now there is another reason to recommend this, and well, two actually. Firstly, if the Bigme high break phones are good, then there is a chance that Bigme could have a compelling ecosystem with a mobile option in the Bigme high break and the larger tablets for your notes. So if they can get the integrated software right, then there's real opportunity for you to have your notes and your books synced between your phone and your tablet. Now this might happen, but Bigme aren't the best at getting polished software out. And certainly the hardware will be there before the software will be. And my advice to Bigme is possibly to just think about slowing down on your hardware releases and make sure your software releases are just so. So that isn't there yet. I would say wait for the full reviews of the Bigme high break phone and wait to see what that software integration is like before you buy based on that. And secondly, Bigme are, at the very least, they seem to be collaborating with Pocketbook. The Pocketbook EO looks exactly like this. It has almost exactly the same body apart from the pogo pins for the pen to connect. It's a kind of magnetic snap without Bluetooth, I think, the Pocketbook EO pen. But it's not the same inside. The Pocketbook EO seems to be more like the internals of the Inknote Color Lite, which is still good. It's still got the important ingredients of the Kaleido-free display and the Wacom EMR pen, but it doesn't have the performance of this. And I can tell you that I would prefer, on balance, the full Android experience rather than the lockdown software of the Pocketbook. But there are rumors also that Pocketbook have bought part of the Bigme company. Now, if that's true, then we might look forward to some software collaboration in the future. And if that's the case, maybe Pocketbook, they could be the ones to finally help Bigme get that polished software experience out for the Western market. That would be a real plus. And maybe that's the way they could do this switching between a focus mode and a more full Android experience to allow you to switch between the Pocketbook operating system and, yeah, the Bigme. And wouldn't that be cool? And they aren't reasons to buy this right now, but they are reasons why Bigme is still one to watch going forward, and why their devices will become something more in the future. So for now, as is often the case with Bigme, another step in the right direction, a really good tablet, great hardware, some issues still with the software, but on an improving trajectory. And they are still bringing out regular updates to that software. In fact, one just before I was filming this review today.